Thank you very much for being here. I am very excited to do this masterclass, how to stop translating in your head and start thinking in English. So I really appreciate for being here, taking your time. The first thing that came to my mind when I started doing this masterclass was like all the beautiful moments and beautiful experiences that I have had or that have happened to me in my life. And this was because of I get out of my comfort zone. I think that this was one of the most important things I decided to do. And perhaps this masterclass might be your moment also to get out of your comfort zone and to start thinking in English, to stop translating into real, to get out of your comfort zone and do what you always dream about. So I welcome you and I want to talk about the objectives. Pretty much what we are going to be doing is understanding why you keep translating in your head, like what are the reasons we do this, and also discover because it's not just understanding that, but discover how we can stop doing this and applying the strategies that I'm going to talk about and to start improving your fluency. Because when you stop translating, what your brain does is obviously working on the fluency, the confidence will improve as well, and you will become as fluent as you want, right? And well, if we have time, if you agree, we can also meet and learn from some experiences that you can share. And finally, I will tell you how we can explore the next step in your fluency journey. So let's go over it. First of all, I want to congratulate you. I'm so proud that you are showing up today, that you are stepping out of your comfort zone, as I said, and you are taking real action, guys. You are taking your time to improve yourself. So you have to literally hug you and say, well done. This is exactly how growth begins. So congrats. You're definitely in the best moment, in the best place. Let's talk about mindset first, guys. And I would like you to understand first why we translate. And if you think about it, guys, we continue translating in our head because this is the way we were taught, right? When we were in high school, and I mean, everybody here is Costa Rican. We know that when we were in high school or in school, I think that I don't even receive English in school, but in high school, I received a lot of vocabulary lists and, like these dialogues or these isolated words, right? And that's what we were doing always, right? They gave us the list and house, casa, food, comida, right? So it was like automatically that was the way I learned how to do it, right? So it's so difficult when you want to break a habit. Everybody knows that breaking a habit is so hard, and breaking the habit of thinking in Spanish or stop translating is so hard as well, right? And perhaps I want to give you three type of learners. Maybe you will identify it in these learners. The first one is the judger. Yeah, of course. When we were in high school, they were giving us a lot of words, a lot of vocabulary, isolated words as well. And there is when we started becoming type of learners. The first learner is the judger, the person who is always looking for mistakes, and this person is always looking for what's wrong. I didn't say it correctly, I didn't pronounce it correctly. Everybody is a judger, in our lives. This is very common, but this type of learner is harmful. It can uh, definitely affect our learning process. It's okay to find for mistake, I mean to look for mistakes, but in a different way. I really recommend you much better to look for areas of improvement and what are we doing correctly, right? Where are we moving and progressing? The second, the second type of learner that I will introduce today is the collector. Yeah, maybe we are also in this part of or this type of learner because this is the typical learner who studies a lot, right? As you can see, the person is learning through videos, through podcasts, through YouTube, whatever. But I'm always learning, but I am never applying this knowledge or these lessons that I am learning, right? So at the end, you don't do anything. You are like in a cycle, right? And finally, we have the implementer. The implementer is the person who takes action, even if it's not perfect. So I'm not a judger anymore. I'm not a collector because, yes, I collected knowledge, but the implementer is taking the action. And the implementer knows that perfectionism is not going to work in this process, right? So we need to be very clear in these three type of learners: the judger, the collector, and the implementer. With this information, I want to ask you, try to analyze which one do you think you have been lately? Perfect. That's what I wanted to listen because, yes, exactly. We are here to become the implementer, right? And as Sue is also saying, we sometimes can be two type of learners. Sometimes actually right now in Turkish, I am the collector. It's quite difficult for me to implement it. Sometimes it happens that we don't have the space to implement what we have been learning. We don't have the person to practice, or it's difficult to know what to do because not necessarily you need someone to practice it, right? But what Juan said, it's super important. I want to be there in number three, right? And that's the idea. That's the promise that I'm going to give you today. You're going to discover today in this masterclass how to discover and apply how to stop translating in your head and start thinking, not just thinking, of course, speaking in English with confidence, with more clarity, comfort. So, as Juan said, you can become the implementer. I want also to tell you about people who already started thinking in English. For example, Swani contacted me because she understood English. She understood, like certain series or movies or songs, but she couldn't communicate in English. It was very difficult for her. After 3 months, she started conversing, having conversations in English with colleagues from Jamaica. This is very important. A little slowly, and this is very important what she says here, a little slowly, but communicating well. So I want you to take this and understand that fluency is not about speaking fast, but communicating correctly, communicating well, not perfectly, but well. So nowadays, as you can see, she says that she can understand almost everything. Now she can watch tutorials, movies, TV shows in English with more comfort, feeling more confident. Then we also have Carlos. Carlos was struggling to recall words, to remember words in conversations. The typical um, the typical challenge that all of us have, right? Like, what is that word? How can I say it? I forgot it, right? I am not recalling words, but after having some lessons on the speaking club, he understood that his vocabulary was expanding. He felt more comfortable speaking and understanding everyday topics. So at the end, it was easier for him to internalize the language more naturally. And that's what I also want you to take from this masterclass. Like, as soon as I start applying these strategies that I will tell you today, everything will become more naturally. Like, it will, like, you will surprise actually. And finally, we also have the experiences or the recommendations and reviews of from Raquel and Naidelin. Raquel was saying that for her, her biggest challenge was her limiting beliefs. Like, she convinced herself that she couldn't speak English fluently. But after some sessions, we transformed her mindset. Step by step, she overcame those limiting beliefs. She started practicing with exercises, material, practical strategies, and now she can achieve this fluency, right? And now she can actually, nowadays we are having always conversations by WhatsApp, which is another strategy I recommend you, sending notes or audios by WhatsApp and practicing. Finally, Nidelin was saying, okay, my English is not good enough. There were a lot of limiting beliefs here, like I cannot achieve my goals because my English is not enough. But after some sessions in the speaking club, she understood more songs, more movies. And what I want you to take from here is she understood that fluency isn't about speaking fast, what I said before. She said here, fluency is about being aware of how to express my thoughts in this language. And this is part of what I'm going to mention in some minutes. Understand and be aware of how to express my thoughts, right? My thoughts are going to be different, believe it or not, in one language from another. That's why people sometimes say that my personalities can change as well because I'm using another language. Guys, it's not my native language, it's completely another story. Probably you will be asking like, who am I? Like, why am I telling you all these things? Like, why do I feel like the expert on this aspect of thinking in another language? And it is because I really um, went through these experiences, not just with English, but with Portuguese. And nowadays, I'm doing this also with Turkish. It's so hard, guys. I know this is not an easy path. It's a long path. We have to apply a lot of strategies. We have to be very consistent and put a great effort on our, studies, on our activities day by day. But I assure you that this is possible. You can see how I have become, for example, this implementer by reading in another language, by traveling and using my language, by learning another language in English, because I'm learning Turkish in English. Spanish is out of my lexicon in this case, and I'm stepping out of my comfort zone, learning a language in a second language. So that's also possible for you. And I want to tell you this. Have you ever felt this way? Probably you have been trying to speak more naturally, learning through apps, the typical Duolingo. Teacher, why I don't advance if I'm using a lot Duolingo, if I'm watching a lot of YouTube channels, maybe podcasts. But while that's a good start, of course, this is the way we start learning a language, still don't, I mean, like, you still don't have this clear structure because there's no like um the clear map, right? Like how we can do it, the consistent method of how you can actively use your English and speak confidence. The hard way, of course, this is exactly how I did it for years until I realized that I needed to start doing things differently, not learning words isolated like I was taught in high school, but like instead of doing this, there is an easy way, a more natural way, a simpler way to start thinking in English. This is the way that fits your day, your activities, your pace, that helps you feel more fluent without translating in your head every time. Let me show you how. Let's start with the most important thing here. The three keys to think in English and speak with confidence. The first one is to involve yourself in the language. It sounds very easy, actually, but it requires effort and it requires a lot of attention. You have to be aware of what you're doing. The second technique is to understand the logic of English. I will explain you in a moment what does that mean. And finally, you have to create tiny, little thinking routines. Let's start with the first one. Let's break it down into pieces so you can understand much better. And this is involving yourself in the language means a lot of things. Why? Because there is a myth, guys, and I don't know if you have thought about this, but when I was younger or some years ago, I used to think that in order to start thinking in English, I need to be advanced. I needed to be an advanced learner. And this is false. This is completely false because you don't need perfect grammar or this list of huge vocabulary. What you need is exposure, repetition, consistency, even with basic content. And I will give you the example of Turkish. 1 year ago, I started learning Turkish by myself. Of course, I'm not an advanced, so this myth is not true. Why? Because I started having exposure every single day to Turkish series, movies, podcasts. It's very funny because I'm listening to a podcast and I'm not understanding anything of what they are saying. But this is consistency. Every single day, I did this for a year. Nowadays, I can understand some expressions, I can understand some phrases, I actually understand the intonation of the conversation. So I know if the person is angry, I know if the person is surprised because of the expressions that I've been learning without isolated words. So it's not true that I need an advanced level to start doing this. No, I can start doing this from day one, from A1. So if I say start surrounding yourself with English, the first technique that I recommend you doing is changing your phone language. I did it with Turkish and it was very funny because I was like, oh my God, what am I reading? But believe it or not, you already know what the button says. Your brain knows that. And you change it so your brain is getting accustomed to this new language. Enviar, send, and so on, right? So, changing your phone language and the settings, the iPad, the computer, will start giving you the opportunity to explore the language much better. The second thing that you can do by surrounding yourself with English is watching YouTube channels that you really love, topics that you are interested in. Don't watch things that you don't care because the association and the internalization it's going to be different. The same like podcasts. If you like to listen to podcasts, for example, while you're commuting from your job to your house, from your house to your job, when you're traveling to the beach, why not to listen to podcasts? It doesn't matter if you don't understand anything. The same while cooking, taking a shower, etc. And finally, I recommend you choosing one area of your life and leave it in English. What does that mean? Well, if you really like to do exercise, for example, you do exercise with some videos, I don't know, a Latin gear. Instead of choosing this Latin gear, now I'm going to choose an American gear and I'm going to do exactly the same exercises, but in English. Or if I really love music, but I I am aware that I'm always listening to music in Spanish in our case, okay, I will change it. So this week I will just listen to English, music in English, and that's it. Or recipes instead of Spanish in English. Okay? There are more strategies, more things that you can do when surrounding yourself with English. And this is actually in the ebook that I will give you at the end of the masterclass. The second, and for me, one of the most important is understanding the logic of English, the logic of the language. And this applies for every language because it also applies for me when understanding the logic of Turkish is not the same in English, it's not the same in Spanish. They work differently. The myth is that I need to translate word by word to understand. But that's not true. Actually, English doesn't work like Spanish or your native language, whatever it is. In the case of English, it works through chunks, like pieces of phrases, collocations, or expressions that when we translate them, they don't make sense in our language. And that's the first thing that we have to understand. For example, if I give you the word daughter and I say, okay, no sé qué es, no sé qué significa daughter, right? Pero voy y busco en el diccionario qué significa hija. Pero instead of going to the dictionary and look for the word in Spanish, maybe you can start researching examples, right? So your brain is going to say, okay, daughter is used in this example. So what do I understand in the context, right, of the word? Why not looking for synonyms, or why not associating this with some other things like my mother, my daughter, my brother, like I start learning the family, for example, the family members. So it's not necessary to go over Spanish. The same happens, guys, with collocations. En español nosotros decimos tomar una decisión o decimos tender la cama, but if I understand that this doesn't work the same in English, that English has different verbs for different actions, not the same as Spanish, that I can use one verb for a lot of actions, I will start understanding that if I learn make a mistake, ya yo sé que eso es tomar perdón, cometer un error, I am not going to make this translation run. The same happens with tomar una decisión como make a decision, right? And you have to start training your brain to recognize patterns. I have here this hasty example, um, and I wrote it there yesterday when I was preparing the presentation because actually yesterday I had a lesson with a student who asked me, ¿cómo digo tomar una decisión apresurada? Entonces vean que ahí ya yo tengo un patrón, ¿verdad? Que cada vez que yo voy a decir decisión, puede ser una mala decisión o una decisión apresurada o una buena decisión, whatever. Pero entonces ya yo macheo hasty with decision. So I make a hasty decision. Hasty means apresurado. So if I make the logic and I match it, I won't forget that hasty means apresurado and I needed to use when I make a hasty decision. As soon as I start understanding that collocations or chunks work in this way, I can use different apps, or you can use your paper, but the idea ideally is that you create flashcards or something visual that you can work on every time that you learn something new. Quizlet, for example, is an app that you can use and collect all these collocations with your own examples so you don't learn single vocabulary items like hasty, but in this case, I say, I made a hasty decision yesterday when I called you. And okay, I understood. I learned the word hasty and I created immediately a sentence that will help me to learn this without translating. And finally, let's talk about the last strategy, which is creating a tiny thinking routine. Creating thinking routines is it sounds easy as well, but as every routine, as every habit, it's hard because you have to be aware. You have to remember about this. We are always connecting with our cell phone. We are always watching our cell phones because we are addicted pretty much. So try to be aware that sometimes you need to stop and do other things. If it is impossible for you, create your tiny thinking routines with your cell phone as well, right? And the same. There is this myth pretty similar to the first one that I need to be advanced to start thinking in English. This is false because pretty much you also can do it, like in 1 minute. Why in 1 minute? Because in 1 minute I can start just naming, sorry, all the objects that I have in my surrounding. So I don't need 1 hour. I just need 1 minute, 5 minutes. Remember, guys, that language is built in the brain through short, repeated, intentional actions. And this is very important with this strategy. There must be an intention. Why are you doing this routine? Why are you mentioning everything that you see on the street in English? And the intention is pretty much to start creating this habit of thinking English in English. So you must have intentional actions. What can you do? Practice micro routines. For example, in the morning, you will say, okay, 3 things that I will do today. In the afternoon, you can just describe what you are doing. At night, you can reflect on how you felt. You can think, you can express it out loud, or you can write it down. The three of them, or the three activities, are super good to start thinking in English because even though you are not opening your mouth to speak, you are thinking, right? You are thinking, writing, or speaking. And as I said before, I would like you to start getting accustomed to speak while you are doing everyday things, while you are taking a shower, while you are cooking, while you are walking like the crazy person speaking on the street, or even while you are driving. This is so, so important, especially if you start doing this in front of the mirror, guys. In front of the mirror pretty much will help you a lot to see the movements of your mouth, to see your expressions, how confident you start feeling, and how you feel like watching yourself reflecting on the mirror and speaking another language. There are some other routines that you can do, and you will find them in the 20 strategies ebook that I will give you at the end. Okay? Now that you have seen how your brain can start thinking in English, I want you to exactly on Quizlet you can add images. Yeah. Very good idea. And in that way you can associate it. This is a great technique as well. I didn't mention it in the ebook, by the way, but you can now add it. I want you to ask yourself, what will it change if I start using just one, guys, just one of these strategies daily? What would happen? What would change in my life? How would be, right? If I start using this more often, just one of them. Imagine if I use all of them every single week, right? How would I would how would it feel to express myself clearly without translating? I want you to take these questions and keep them in your mind. Try to analyze them today at night before you go to sleep. And you say, like, what would happen? Like, like if I start applying this, if I start expressing myself clearly, I would, of course, have more opportunities, right? And I want you to always remember that fluency isn't about perfection. This is something that I always say. I really like to repeat it always. Like, fluency actually is about bravery, repetition, and trust in your growth. Bravery because pretty much you are stepping out of your comfort zone, right? You are brave enough to speak even though you know that you are not speaking perfectly, that you are making mistakes, etc. But you are repeating these activities and you are trusting that eventually you will growth and your level will improve. And from this point on, you have 3 options. Option 1 is to do nothing, to keep translating, to keep doubting, to keep feeling stuck, and keep getting the same results pretty much. Option 2, try to do it on your own. You will make some progress, of course, but it might take longer and it's easy to give up, because there's no guidance or a community that will help you to stay on top, like to stay motivated on track on your objectives and goals. And option number 3, I offer you to join the Confident Explorer Speaking Club. Explorer, you will be a confident explorer to practice these strategies weekly to get support, to get feedback, to get guidance, but also to be part of a positive, real conversation community. So if you think or if you want to think in English to speak with confidence and finally stop getting stuck when speaking, this is definitely your space, and I will explain you why. As you saw, Suani and Carlos, Raquel and Naidelin, they already made this decision. They chose to stop overthinking. They pretty much stopped waiting for the perfect moment because this is typical. Like, yes, I will join this speaking club or I will start having classes when there is a perfect moment in your mind, but there's no perfect moment, guys. These guys pretty much stop thinking about this and finally start speaking English with confidence week after week. Now it's your turn. I want you to do this and I want you to remember this type of learners, the judger, the collector, the implementer. And I want you to tell me, well, not to tell me, but I want you to think about it for the ones or you that chose options between one or two. Okay, you can probably continue making progress, not as fast as a confident, but you can do it, right? But remember that there is always the option of being there, on top, like the not the collector, but the implementer, the person who takes action. Even when it is not perfect, that person is speaking, getting out of the comfort zone. If you chose option three, if you really want to be this um, implementer person, this implementer learner, I'm about to show you the solution that I've created to finally think and speak in English confidently. And I am pretty sure that you want to see results in English in your daily conversations, at job, when you travel, and having confidence. So I want to introduce you to the Confident Explorer Speaking Club. This is pretty much the place that you will say goodbye to fear and that you will say hello to fluent conversations. And this program was created for you if you're tired, for example, of learning alone, if you're this collector, but you want to speak with real people, if you want practical topics, real life English, and a safe community, this is the program for you. We are not going to be talking about business, but actually we are going to talk about practical topics because sometimes, believe it or not, when we think about real life English and practical topics, we think that this is easy to talk, but not really. When we have to do small talk, for example, and we are meeting new people face to face, and we have to go over this challenge, it's hard, right? So this program will help you to go over this type of conversations with confidence and knowing that you can do it with the strategies that you have learned. And also, this program was created for you if you're ready to build confidence and to finally enjoy speaking. And I say enjoy, guys, because I'm learning Turkish, but Turkish shouldn't be a pain point. I mean, why am I going to learn something that is hard or that I feel like, oh, no, I'm suffering? No, I mean, you have to enjoy the process. If you're doing this, it's because you really want and there is an intention of it. So don't forget about this. Enjoying is the most important, one of the most important parts of this process that you have been in which you have been. If you join to this speaking club, we are going to have weekly live conversation sessions. As I said, there's going to be a supportive group, guided group. You will receive PDF vocabulary and speaking guides before the lesson. You will receive this. As soon as you get to the speaking club, I will send you an email and a password. You will get to this link, you will change the password, and you will have the access of all the materials and content inside. You will have the recordings of each session. That means that you can review them anytime if you're on the beach. I don't know if you want to check that, or if you're traveling anywhere. You never miss out any lesson. And if you miss it, you can check the recordings. There is a community access where you can connect, personalized feedback. And this is very important because I will be giving you tips on how to improve certain errors that you are making week, weekly mistakes, for example, and special bonuses. Which bonuses? I'm so excited about these bonuses. There is a mini course that you will get as soon as you, which is the Fluency Jumpstart. So I will give you this mini course with certain videos on how you can be more fluent in your conversations. There's also a conversation starter toolkit, and you will have access to my exclusive member library where you will get grammar reviews, speaking starters, or ways to have more conversations day by day. And there are going to be some guests as well, surprise guests. So this is the total value of everything that I told you is $220. But actually, if you get and you join today, you will have to pay just $63 monthly. And probably you are wondering, what are we gonna do, right? Like, what about the content? I took screenshots on the content that you will find also in the registration page. But you will see that, for example, the first month, we will be mastering everyday conversations. How do we introduce ourselves? How do we talk about your interests? And probably you say, like, that sounds basic, but believe it or not, guys, sometimes these are the most difficult things to do because we are in our job, sometimes we are like accustomed to talk about technical vocabulary, but when we have to socialize, when we have to ask and answer common questions, or when we have to express our opinion, agree or disagree, that's hard, right? Because we need expressions, we need different phrases. So that's what we are going to be doing in the first month. Then we are going to be talking about travel English and cultural insights, like when we go to restaurants, when we have to explore a city, ask for directions, cultural differences. Month number 3, it's amazing. We are going to be talking about movies, series, and books, debating about movies, adaptations like books versus movies, or discussing about plot lines and characters. And this is good because, as I said, guys, we don't have to always speak about our technical vocabulary. And if I am, I don't know, a lawyer, I know all the vocabulary about law, but what happens if I want to talk about a movie, right? What expressions should I use? Then we are going to move into news and articles. Super important. We are going to be talking about global situations and discussing about the events, current events, different perspectives on news topics, what is happening in one country, how can we compare it to our country, etc. Then learning through tutorials and online content. What Swani was saying, pretty much, right? Remember that Swani was saying that now she can understand tutorials. She loves embroidery. So it was difficult for her to watch embroidery tutorials. Now she can understand, she can talk about DIY tutorials or hobbies. We can talk about new skills, and maybe we can create a short tutorial. You never know. That's something very nice. We are going to be doing a lot of projects and things that will include you to speak and to use the language. And finally, on month number 6, we are going to be socializing, making friends in English, how to start and maintain conversations. This is linked to month number 1 because on month number 1, we started doing that, like learning. Now we are going to apply what we learned on month number 6. Of course, we will continue month number 7, 8, 9. You have all this information on the link. If you compare these guys with what we normally do in English, for example, we pay private lessons. Let's say that you pay $1,000 for 24 lessons. Yes, you get personalized feedback. I also do personalized sessions, but you are alone, guys. And if you ask me, it would be much better if your level is now increasing. Why not to move into speaking club where you have a community? Because this feedback, yes, the person is giving this feedback. Sometimes people are not giving you the structure that you need. You are learning from YouTube, from apps and books. But if you go to a community, you are not alone. You learn from everybody's questions, mistakes, progress. If I am, I don't know, correcting Carlos, maybe Susana can get that and say, yes, I also do that, right? So how can I improve it? Or if Susana has a question, maybe Carlos had the same question, but he couldn't ask it, right? So the community is amazing. There is this shared motivation. So you are not going to feel like I'm going to give up. You're pretty much feeling inspired to keep going. And the same with the real accountability, because the community is cheering you on. It's helping you to stay on track and don't go away and don't, lose the opportunity to practice. I think that that's the true power of a community. The investment is tiny compared to what you are leaving on the table. As I said, you will get better jobs, better promotions because you are pretty much using your English every day. And remember that learning a language is understanding that a language is a bridge. And when I understand this, I know that I'm going to have more freedom when you travel. I'm going to have real connections with people all over the world because who knows, guys, that you go to Japan, right? Who knows that you go to London? You definitely need to use your English. So this is very tiny compared to what you're going to get. So think about it. So there's a bonus, guys. I want to invite you for the first 3 people who join within the next 24 hours. You will be receiving an exclusive promo code for 10% off your first month. So don't think too much about it. Right now, you have 2 options pretty much. The first one is stay where you are, keep translating, keep missing opportunities because that's what happens, right? Maybe there was this amazing job, but unfortunately I lost it because I never get out of my comfort zone. I continue feeling stuck. Your second option is say yes to yourself. This is an investment, guys. You are investing in yourself. You are investing in your future. So if you join the club, you get support and you finally speak English with confidence. Pretty much what you have always dreamed about. There is a 100 satisfaction guarantee. Of course, if you don't feel, like a real shift in your confidence and also in your mindset within the 14 days, I will give you your money back. No questions asked, just honest support. And the real question here is, are you truly committed to join or to your own growth? Do you know what your priorities are right now? Are you are you going to continue thinking about it, doubting about it, but you never do this step, right? You never take this step or you never make this decision. So I want to remember, and this is perfect for the moment, that if you want different results, you have to do something different. And probably this is the moment. Probably this masterclass was right now. So, if you are wondering about the payment plan, well, you can actually pay by PayPal or you can do a bank deposit. You have these 2 options. You will find this, as I said, in the link. I will be sending you this by email. And remember, that is 63 monthly. Maybe you're wondering about the deadline to join. The club officially starts on May the 5th, but you can you can still join during the month whenever you want, but it's best to start with us. From day one you can meet the others. But guys, this is an open speaking club. You can join whenever you want, from May 5th, or you can join in June, July, August. We will be continue until 1 year. The idea is to have this for a year, with the first generation. I say it like that because on month 12, you will see it in the link. I want us to make a progress reflection. How was it, right? How did we feel? What did we learn? How was the process and all the journey together? But you can join whenever you want. So, this is the moment for um, opening the room in case you have any questions regarding what we have been discussing today. Nice. Thank you very much for the opportunity and listening to me, guys, on this masterclass. It is very important to have these spaces, not just to offer what I am working on right now. But for me, the most important, of course, is what you get, right? And if you really understood that you can start thinking in English, stop translating, this is for me the most important. I pretty much will be very happy if you get something important and you will start applying. This is for me the most valuable. So I really appreciate for being here. Thank you. You can actually connect with me on Instagram, on WhatsApp, or you can visit my website for more tips, inspiration. Thank you very much for being here and see you in another experience of Masterclass.